Coop Tedesco, he's played some great games for the Roosters, but he's in his 250th. It was one of his very, very best.
I'm saying top 5. It was that good. Obviously, milestone for him. The club under a bit of pressure in a must-win game for them. I'll tell you what, he delivered. And he didn't do anything out of the box. He just did, all the little things, just super fast, super aggressive, faster than the opposition. Yeah. And that pinball mentality. It was a captain's knock when the club needed it. I thought it was, a very, very good performance.
It's really funny, isn't it, Coops? When you have it reminded me of one thing. We've spoken before about sometimes you pick a team which necessarily might not have the best players, but he's going to necktie a team to how they should play. Mm. This one's the opposite. This one's like, OK, who's our most important individual? Well, let's build a style of football that's going to bring out the best in them. And I thought, Coops, the lack of big sequence football, I'll put it this way, Tedesco to me on sweep plays looks about 6.5, 7 out of 10 dangerous. Mm. First receiver through the middle, it's about 9, 9.5 out of 10.
Well, I think you'd also put that Penrith performance in terms of that first 20 minutes was the reminder that not only the Roosters but Tedesco, they probably all got back to the basic things, doing it better. And when Tedesco's been the best player on the field, he's had that perfect balance between sort of yardage, hard work, but then that finesse at the attacking end of the field. And he did that. Some of his touches for the Bradley try, some of that connection there with Keary as well. He put it together, the good balance of that footy.
Because when we used to work together, we used to always start a training session with hats out onto ABC either side of the ruck, and we'd work on just all the time, repainting the Harbour Bridge, just going over and over on that basic fundamental of how to pull an outside defender, how to get to an outside defender, or how to bring an outside defender to you, a target defender. And I think in 2024 with the fast rucks, what Tedesco did for the first try for Radley was almost picture perfect. Drove deeper than the markers, boom, 2 steps forward at the A defender to sit him on his heels, and then jump out to the outside man.
Yeah, in today's game where everything is sort of sideways and get it on the outside for the winger to score, if you want to go through a team, your first movement must be straight, and you have to give the threat you're going to take that first defender off the ruck on the inside shoulder. And the fact that he bounced off, Matt Lodge just thought, I have to come to you. And Radley did a great job in terms of pushing. But that movement is when we worked together, it was always halves that did that footwork. Yeah. It's almost now that every player on the field has to have that footwork. If you think about a fullback in a kick return, he isolates one defender, moves and goes. Even Isaiah Yeo when he does his ball playing. He does a similar thing, not as athletic as Tedesco, but that straightness and move left, move right, then bounce out hard. Centre's one-on-one. If you're one-on-one with a centre, you have to give the threat you're going to go in, and then you could move either way.
And Cooper, it's not a necessity to be fast as such at first, but you've got to be rapid. You've got to have that first step quickness. Yeah. And if we have just a little glance again, his speed spooked them so much that Nathan Brown, who was actually 2 defenders out, actually turned in.
Yeah.
His speed was such that he spooked them so much that outside of the target defender, even they turned in.
Yeah, to strip them on the right of Tedesco, he needs to run left first, if that makes sense. The ability to go in this way brings them in, and they go off the back of that. But, sublime ball playing. It doesn't matter if you're Tedesco, Isaiah Yeo, or let's say Sean Johnson, Benji Marsh, who've got the big skip and a jump. It's sort of going through the gears, go fast, tempo, and then go fast again, and that's why Lodge turned in.
And we've spoken a lot about, the 2 most dangerous players in the Roosters lineup, now that Sam's not on the side, Manu and Tedesco, how to get them operating together. Well, the other night, they managed to do it by drifting across, picking up Manu on inside balls who'd sort of wander back in and form combination with Teddy. It was just some nice stuff through the middle. Yeah,
I think whenever you get the ball in Manu's hands, there's been a lot of talk around him playing 5'8" or whatever, but this kind of stuff where they're combining, get him across the field, get him at first receiver. He's got that footwork that Tedesco does. So, like anything, it's the perfect balance. But right centre is his spot for the Roosters right now because defensively they need him there. But the more times he can do things like that, I think it helps for the points.
Young playmaker who I reckon, Coop, you'd have spent a fair bit of time working with, Sandon Smith. Last week, toughest job in rugby league, first finals game, playing Penrith, in Penrith, full stadium, hostile environment. Nathan Cleary returned. And I thought, he might have had 1 or 2 errors, but I thought he held his hands up pretty good. And this game, that was his reward.
Yeah, he scored that try, and that was a pretty good try because sometimes you talk about playing Penrith and you start looking for all the flashy stuff. How are you going to break down Penrith? Well, you break down Penrith like any other team by going north-south first before you go east-west. And I thought his running game was good. He really terrorised Manly's defence at different stages, but then he also had the high percentage stuff. I thought his king game was improved and his defence was as well. So, look, it doesn't get any easier. You're playing a final series at that young age as a half. Like, I remember my first few that you got into them hoping that you'd play well. Crossing fingers and toes, just, geez, I hope I play well, I hope we win. But hope doesn't get you anywhere. You've got to be assertive. You've got to be dominant. You've got to have an aggressive tone to go after it. And I think the one thing that all players need at this time of year is don't hesitate. Because once that ball is there for the taking, you've got to be first to it.
I don't have much of a life, Cooper, so hence the reason why I go back and watch old games. But I saw some of your games in your first final series, went back, had a look. And you've always got to have a certain, I think, focus when you're going in those first games. And what struck me about you, Cooper, when you played that first final series, you didn't try to do too much. There wasn't a lot of width to your game. It was all mainly 1 metre passes.
Yeah, I played to my strengths. I was tenacious in the way they ran the football, and then when I started running the football, I had a short pass, and then my pass outside of that was basically to Inglis or Slater. So I never went fishing for the long pass. If it was game plan that there was a kick on, then I'd do that. But I think at this time of year, I think the simpler things are better.
Yeah.
And whatever you are as a player, whether you're a front row, fullback or a half, bring your strengths to that simple game. Don't all of a sudden start looking to throw long passes if you don't do them all year long.
Yeah.
Don't do anything different. Just be aggressive. And I think the teams that lost on the weekend, in terms of the Cowboys and Manly, just didn't have that intent. They didn't. Like, I really loved the mindset of what the Roosters and the Sharks particularly brought to their game. Like, it was direct, it was intent, and things like, one of the best things you can find on intent is, I know there was some carnage in the Roosters-Manly game, but like kick chase, like that is one area that you can define your intent on. And what the Sharks did to the Cowboys, particularly Trindle kicking game and the outside backs chase, I thought it was very good.
It's funny, isn't it, like Coops? It takes a lot of hard work to do things simple. Now, what I mean, I think as far as preparation and mental attitude, we can sit here and go, look, you retain the ball you got. You attack simple. You get forward, you play the ball quick. You kick well. You defend with energy. You don't do those things really well, you're going to win the football game. And you sit there and go, well, that's really easy. Yeah. Well, it is in theory, but to get out there and get yourself up for the occasion all the time, it's hard.
Yeah, and I thought, there was carnage at the start of the Roosters-Manly game, but Hargraves, he returned to the game.
Yeah.
His first carry. And while he didn't mean it, and you feel for Kohler, but that was a sign that his intent, right?
Well, you compare that to the week before.
Yeah, and the next one's Lindsay Collins. He's another front rower. So just set the tone off 2 carries. And I think the top 4 teams playing this weekend, I'll tell you what, I think the opening exchanges
going to be so good.